The Carolina Hurricanes on Sunday night keep the winning ways going with a 6-4 win over the New York Islanders, getting one step closer to clinching a playoff spot. And I have to say this, Seth Jarvis, man, does that guy know how to score some goals?
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. Also do some AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. Even doing some baseball over at Covering the Corner for SB Nation. I'm also the co-host of the Surge Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a marvelous Monday edition of the podcast as we're going to talk about Seth Jarvis and the Carolina Hurricanes in their 6-4 win over the New York Islanders. Why Seth is on route for another 30-goal season, and just the fact that he is now he's tying franchise records. Also going to talk about the red-hot power play that mainly struggled for most of 2025, but over the last 4 games have become pretty much almost inevitable, which is a good sign to see right before we get to the playoffs. And then we get to hear from Seth Jarvis in the postgame, because this is probably one of the greatest postgames I've heard in a while, and he was just dropping so much quotes that you love to see it. So this is a really fun episode. Really excited to see what we go about this one, because we are now down to 9 games left in the regular season right before we get into the playoffs, and the Hurricanes found a way to make this one very dramatic after going up 2-0. But in terms of Seth Jarvis, even with him missing 7 games earlier this season due to a shoulder surgery, shoulder getting re-aggravated, you were kind of wondering, are we going to get a same type of season last year? Because you missed 7 games, it's not typically you lose a whole lot, but it definitely skews your trajectory of what a year you're going to have. But for the fact that he's missed 7 games, and he's there's been some, games where, he would love to have some goals, love to have some points and stuff like that. But when you look at him overall in the entire Carolina Hurricanes team, yes, he's 11 points back of Sebastian Aho, but Sebastian's also played 6 more games comparatively to Seth Jarvis. But for the fact that Seth has a team leading 29 goals on the season with 6 games left is crazy to think about, for the fact that he is one ahead of Sebastian Aho, who did go ahead of Seth Jarvis because in this game, and then finds a way to take the team lead, but then Seth ties him and then retakes the lead once again, which is crazy as well. But the fact that also Seth Jarvis is a plus 11, 6 power play goals, which is only 3 back of Andrei Svechnikov, who has the team lead. But Seth Jarvis is now 2 ahead of Sebastian with 5 shorthanded goals, while he only has 2 game winners and no overtime winners, which Sebastian Aho has. Sebastian Aho has 9 game winning goals and 5 overtime goals. But for the fact that, too, he's carrying a plus 11, 58 points. He's a goal and assist shy of a 30-30 and then 60 points of a season, is remarkable for how good he is with missing so much time. That he's a goal and assist away from 30 each, and then is 2 points shy of another 60-plus season in back-to-back years. And he's 7 points shy of having a career-high 65, because his career high in his career, which he did set last year, which is remarkable for the fact that he played 81 games. Seth Jarvis had a 67-point season. So 60 would be 65 as a career high, but he would have close to 65, which would be close to it. But 9 points in 9 games. Is it possible? It's possible, but just to say he had a 60-point season while missing 7 games on the season, it's still pretty remarkable for him to do that. Now, if you gave him a full 82 game season, I could definitely see him getting, a career highs across the board. But just to get 30, 30, and 60 is still really good for missing the amount of time that he has. And it goes to show of why the Hurricanes gave him that 8-year contract extension, over this past offseason. So it's just pretty remarkable of how good he's been playing for the Carolina Hurricanes, given the time that he's been able to play for them outside of the injuries. But the thing that happened last night, which was amazing to see, is the fact that he scored the league leading, which is tied for 5 shorthanded goals with Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers. He's now tied for the league lead in shorties with 5. But for the fact that he tied a Carolina Hurricanes franchise record for the most shorthanded goals in a season, and that is, he tied it with Kevin Adams, who did it back in 2003 and 2004. And yes, we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres GM, Kevin Adams. And the fact that Seth tied it already and has essentially 9 more games to go to potentially set a franchise record. I'm really, you never really want to see your team on the PK, but I want to see them on the PK just to see Seth actually get the record. Like, it would be phenomenal just to see him be able to go out there. Let's say it's goal 30. Like, here's your 30th goal of the season, back-to-back years of 30, 30 plus, and it's a franchise record shorties in the season. Like, that would be absolutely insane to see, but it would be so fun to watch us to see, like, everyone just celebrate the fact that, okay, yeah, the Hurricanes should be getting that many penalties, but you have a guy in Jarvis who somehow goes into an insane level of scoring goals. And I've said it before, it's not like the Hurricanes they've had a decent power play. It's gotten better, but we all know their penalty kill is top of the league. It's always good, but it's almost like it's a power kill. That's how good their PK is. The fact that you are supposed to defend goal, you're not supposed to let the other team score, but the fact that you're scoring so many penalty kill goals that it's almost turned into a power kill. Like, you almost score better shorthanded than you do on your own power play, which is wild to think about. But that's just how good it is. And on top of the fact that he had a 2-goal game, the Hurricanes played a lot harder game than they needed to be, because you're up 2-0. You got 2 goals in 13 seconds by Jankowski and Stankoven, which great for them. Like, that's goal number 7 with the Hurricanes for Jankowski. I'm really excited to see what he can do for a full season in Carolina next year. Same thing for Stankoven. He's got 2 goals, but he scored 13 seconds apart. You love to see it. Islanders, unfortunately, do score 3 in a row, but you do get a power play goal by Sebastian Aho, which was at the time the team-leading goal. Only lasted about 8 minutes and 25 seconds before Seth Jarvis tied it with the shorty in the exact same period. But then, you go back, so now you're up 4-3. Anders Lee ties it. Orlov scores the goal 5 minutes later to make it 5-4. But then you have Seth Jarvis on a great shot from after a great pass from Aho, absolutely with a great, snapshot right past Högberg, makes it 6-4, gives him, puts him back in the lead for the team leading goal. 6-4 Hurricanes win. There you go. There's your 45th win of the season, 29 at home. But to see where Seth Jarvis is at, for the fact that, like I said, he's tying a franchise record in shorthanded goals. The Hurricanes got their 94th point of the season. It's their 45th win, league leading 29th win at home. And for the fact that now, yeah, you lose your first game of your homestand, but you beat Montreal, you beat the Islanders on top of that too. And now you're setting yourself up you do have Monday, Tuesday off before you play the Capitals on Wednesday, but you're putting yourself into a good spot where Unfortunately, you kind of wished that they were able to clinch a playoff spot last night, but Montreal did beat the Florida Panthers. But now you have a couple of games here where you got Washington Wednesday, you've got you're in Detroit Friday, so you have the opportunity to go and clinch your seventh straight playoff in the next few games. Like even like Saturday, you're in Boston to play the Bruins. So there's an opportunity over the next 3 games to go and clinch that playoff spot. But just for the fact of where the Hurricanes are at right now, and the fact with Seth Jarvis, yes, he's second on the team. He's going to get 60 points. You would love to see what a full regular season with him would have been this year. But just for the fact that he's going to get 60 points, back-to-back 30-goal seasons, back-to-back 60-point seasons, second on the team in power play goals. Yes, he's not in the game-winning goal department like Aho or overtime winners, but just that he's second on the like I said, second on the power play goals is basically leads the team in shorties, and the way he's just doing it, like I said, it goes to show why the Hurricanes gave him that 8-year contract, because he is so good on the power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, 200-foot game, north-south, even east-west, like this, like. The Hurricanes found an absolute gem at 13, which I don't think any other team at that time would have thought Seth Jarvis would be a guy at 13 who to have a career he's already having. Like I said, he is already, if you're looking at where he is compared to the rest of, the franchise of, where are we at points wise and overall for the team and stuff like that in terms of history of points and all that. Seth Jarvis right now on a Monday sits 31st. He's only 6 points back of tied Mike Rogers for top 30 all time. Mike Rogers had 210 points, and that's back-to-back 105-point seasons, which is a franchise Whalers Hurricanes record for most points in the season with 105. Never played for the Canes, but in fact he played 2 years with Hartford, 105 points each to get to 210. Seth Jarvis right now is 7 goals shy of 100. Already has 111 assists, 204 points. All he needs to do is get 7 more points in the next 9 games to put himself top 30 all time in Hurricanes points. And this is his 4th season in the NHL. He's had a 40, a 39, a 67, and is now on pace for a 60. Possibly definitely on pace to hit 63 or 64. Like, he is that close to being top 30 all-time in points. That's just how good Seth Jarvis is. And you love to see it. But you know what also is really good? How about this power play for the Carolina Hurricanes? They are red hot in their last 4. So stick around as we'll talk about this scorching in fuego power play here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. So visit FanDuel.com and get on the college hoops action all tournament long. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said at the end of segment 1, the Carolina Hurricanes power play has gone red hot in fuego over the last 4 games. For the fact, too, that the Hurricanes last night with Sebastian Aho getting his man advantage goal was their 4th straight game with a power play goal. Like, they have, for, I know an episode a few weeks back we talked about was they only had 6 power play goals and 6 shorties so far at that point in the 2025. And over the last few games, ever since the Philadelphia Flyers game, they've had a lot of power play goals, mainly thanks to Taylor Hall, who would have thought that Taylor Hall would have unlocked the power play for the Hurricanes, but he really has. But now they've scored 4 straight games with 4 power play goals. This is their 3rd longest streak this season after a pair of 5-game runs back in October 18th through the 26th and November 21st through the 29th. So they had 2 5-game runs already for power play goals back in October and November. And since then, it's kind of gone a little cold. But now you're looking at a team who's now gone 4 straight. And yes, could it still be a little bit better? Yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit better. I mean, there's still a lot of growing pains to go through it all, but you're still setting yourself up to be in a good spot to. Because I've been saying this for a while. If you're going to succeed in the playoffs, it has to be you have to win on the road, which thankfully the Hurricanes have recently, to put them in the spot where now their road record is 16-16-3. It's 500. Is it the greatest? No, not really. Not when you look at Washington is 23-9-3 or New Jersey's 22-16-12. But thankfully the wild card teams are 500 or below 500 in terms of their road records. I mean, heck, even the Blue Jackets, who are 2 points back of a wild card spot, are 12-21-4 on the road. It's just their home record's insane. So it could be worse for the Hurricanes in terms of that. But the other thing is you got to get your power play going. And right now, it's gotten better. I mean, at one point they were 27th, still pretty bad. But right now they are 25th in the NHL in terms of power play. It's still 18.5% because, unfortunately, in the most recent game, they did only go 1 for 4. So it's, like you said, you're not really hitting a huge clip of, oh, look at this. The Hurricanes are, shooting up the ranks in terms of their power play goals. Well, yeah, they're scoring. They're at least getting 1 a game. But, when you're only at 25%, you can only move so much. But at least now you're kind of seeing it's a more consistent type of, hey, if the Hurricanes are scoring power play goals, we're not going 0 for 5, 0 for 6. You're going long stretches of you're going 0 for 24 over a span of 4 or 5 games or however many games it is, and you're 0 for a bunch. At least you're kind of seeing, hey, they're scoring 1 a game. Hey, it's something. Hey, 25% is better than 0. That's how you really look at it. So, but like I said, it runs into the fact that the power play, maybe it's getting hot at the right time, and that's the one thing you really need when you're going into the playoffs is that your road record needs to be good, or you at least need to start winning games on the road at this time, and you also need your power play to be clicking at the right time, and just an overall team just needs to get going right before the playoffs. Luckily, the Hurricanes, with how March went for them, which we'll talk about for the Tuesday show of how great March was for them. But like I said, the road record's gotten better. It was pretty low. Now you're back to 500. Pretty much after the Washington game, you're going to have a lot of road games for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think after this homestand, I think you got maybe 2 more home games for I think the last 8 games of the season. I think you have 2 home games, and that's it. The rest are on the road. So you do have an opportunity to make your road record better going into the playoffs. So as long as that's going, you're fine. But if you also get your power play going, which, like I said, it's still only 25th, it still isn't the greatest. I would love to see it in the top 20. So at least give yourself a better opportunity. But you're going at the right time where you scored 4 straight, which is phenomenal to see. At least you're finally getting a stretch of, okay, these guys are you're at least getting 1. You're putting yourself into a good opportunity to win the special teams battle. And that's another thing that you have to get going in the playoffs, because that's the main thing. Because can you win on the road, and can your special teams do special teams things? And right now, if they are going to where they're at right now, this is a perfect time for them, for both of those things to heat up going into the playoffs. Because right now the Hurricanes are basically like, I think they're a regulation win and someone needs to lose at this point to get in. Like they're within like a game or so of clinching their 7th straight playoff appearance. And now that these 2 things are heating up at the right time, that should give a lot of good possibility and a lot of okay, there's a lot of good mojo going on for the Hurricanes to take this current run into the playoffs. And I don't care if it's New Jersey or if it's going to be Columbus or whoever it is. Right now, it's most likely going to look like New Jersey once again in the playoffs, but at least you're finding the things that you needed to work on to get better at the right time are working right now and getting better at the right time. So it's good to see that the fact that the power play has scored 4 straight. You're hoping for 5 straight to go again because you've already done it twice this season. Even if you don't, but as long as you're staying consistent where you're not going for a ton every stretch, where you're getting, okay, here's one here, maybe it's another game or two, here's one here. At least you're within a closer range of scoring power play goals instead of having these long stretches of going ice cold. If you're relatively getting hot at the right time, that's all you really need when it comes to getting ready for the playoffs. So right now, it's good to see. Obviously, you love to see it from Sebastian Aho. His power play goal and Seth Jarvis' shorthanded goal in the same period, which is awesome to see. Definitely was the big difference for the Hurricanes in that game to go from down 3-2 up 4-3. Yes, they won 6-4, but at least the special teams battle was at least a little bit better for the Hurricanes in that aspect. So you love to see it. It's good to see the power play is getting hot at the right time. Hopefully we see a little bit more consistency. I'm not saying we have to score one every game, but a little bit more consistency of not having, maybe one, every other game or one every couple, but not for the next 6 or 7. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that goes for the rest of the regular season going into the playoffs. Now, like I said at the top of the show, Seth Jarvis had probably the best post game from this season so far, and we definitely have to listen to it and get my thoughts on it. So stick around as we'll listen to that Seth Jarvis post game here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said, if you've not heard this yet, Seth Jarvis's postgame was absolutely phenomenal last night after the Hurricanes win. A lot of interesting quotes coming from this. So, without further ado, let's just jump into that with Seth Jarvis right now.
At such a young age in your career, you're already doing these incredible things. How does that make you feel?
That's cool. I gotta give a lot of credit to the guy I'm playing with. He set me up a lot this year. It's fun to be able to do something kind of cool like that, and hopefully, a few more games to try to break it.
The guy you're tied with is the GM in Buffalo now. Is that the GM in your future? Is that the natural progression? Kevin Adams is the...
Me being a GM?
Yeah.
God, no. I'm not going to be a GM ever.
It's good to have, I know you had to come back for a couple of those goals, but it's good to have a game where you have to fight for some and you end up with 6 goals on the board. That builds everybody's confidence. It's a different way to win, but
yeah,
win those too.
A lot of guys contributed. It's nice. Power play is still 5. We're still kind of hot right now, so we're figuring it out a little bit more. And just scoring in different ways, different lines. Obviously, Janko's goal to start us off was huge. And then, like you said, rolling from there, getting kicked in the ding-ding a little bit, but we figured it out.
Inching closer and closer to that 30-goal mark. What do you attribute? Any changes in play or just what you've been focused on to have this monstrous game you're having?
No. Not as hard on myself as I was before, so that's probably helps. Building chemistry as much as I can and really just focusing on putting the puck in the net. Sometimes you can go through practice and kind of go through the motions a little bit, but I think I've done a good job at when I get the opportunity to focus on scoring practice. It translates to games, and I think that's what I'm seeing right now.
Where do you rank that shorthanded goal you have? That looked pretty gnarly from up in the press box. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. We'll go top 5 all time. I don't know. That was a fun one. It was nice to see a shot go in like that for once.
What's the mindset when Orly lines up for a shot, when you're cruising through the crease or something or looking for a tip? Do you just hope it doesn't hit you?
Oh, no, that thing's heavy, yeah. You're trusting that one's going in, and it was real nice to see him get rewarded tonight. He's been playing well and just hasn't got quite the bounces, and to see him score tonight, you could see in his celebration how happy he was, and we were all pumped for him.
How big of a challenge does the defense have coming up with Ovechkin coming to town with?
I don't even want to think about it. Yeah, it's we just don't want to be that team that gives them that goal. So every night we have a challenge, but like you said, he's been on a heater all year, and against a really good team, it'll be a good test.
Big thank you to Seth Jarvis and the Carolina Hurricanes for that as always. And yeah, you kind of heard it from him. It's the fact that hey, the power play, staying a little bit hot. So you love the reaction from him. It's like he knows the power play is a big, conversation over the last few weeks, and he's like, hey, it's getting kind of hot. And the quote, just ask him like, hey, you're tied with Kevin Adams. He's the GM of the Sabres. Is that the natural progression of you just scoring so many shorties? You're going to be a GM? And he's like, no. The way he phrased it was perfect. He's like, just gosh, no, not happening. It's like, at least Seth is well aware. Like he's self-aware, like absolutely not. I'm never going to be a GM. So yeah, like Seth Jarvis, like probably when his career's over with in like over a decade or 12 years from now, I can definitely see him just like kicking back and just kind of worrying about taking his naps and kind of just chilling out. At least he's aware. Maybe a scout. Who knows? Maybe he could be a scout, but GM, at least he's like, no, not happening. But just the fact of the season he's having has been great to see for him, just scoring all these shorties and then the team overall getting this win. And now he's saying, you got kind of, kicked, and so, I got kicked a little bit and you lose a 2-goal lead, but, Mark Jankowski's, staying pretty hot as well. Sebastian scoring, he scored. Orlov, and they even asked, like, yeah, you basically want to stay out of the way of a Dmitry Orlov shot. It's almost like Fulton Reed from the Mighty Duck movies. Do not stand in front of it. Just let him go for the shot. If it goes in, great. If not, go for the rebound, but never try to go for a tip when a guy has a bomb of a shot like that. But it's good to see the fact that the team is still, winning games. It wasn't the greatest, but they were able to come out and do their thing. And then now you got Washington coming up on Wednesday, and they do play, on Monday. So, it's one of those things where you have to definitely worry about, do you want to be that team? Do you want to be that team that gives Alex Ovechkin the all-time record for goals? Because he's, I think, as of right now, 4 away from tying, 5 to take the record. So unless he goes for a Hattie or scores 2 in the next game before he comes to Carolina, I think the Hurricanes should be all right in terms of that. So hopefully he doesn't really do a whole lot in their next game. And the fact that the Hurricanes don't have to worry about giving up 2 or even 1. So if it's like 3 or more, I think they're going to be in a good spot. And they do play them twice, but I think in between the fact that the 2 games they do play Washington, there is the one, like I said, coming up on Monday. Then they got a couple in between. So hopefully by then Washington and Ovechkin will get that out of the way so the Canes aren't shoehorned into the trivia question of who did Alexander Ovechkin score against to get the record. And hopefully the Carolina Hurricanes are not that answer. But like I said, you love to hear from Seth, just the way that why he's probably one of the most charismatic and probably one of, like, he's definitely the reason why he's going to be part of, the Amazon's, face off behind the scenes thing of the NHL is because of how charismatic he is. And just the quotes he gives are absolutely amazing. He is a goldmine of quips, just phrases. Just that's why he's so good, and that's why so many people like him, is the fact that he's just himself. Yeah, does he play it up for a little bit for the cameras? Maybe a little bit, but he's just someone who's fun and easy going to talk to, and that's why you see him, in a lot of post-game scrums and why he's on podcasts and AHL Network and AHL type shows, is just because of who he is. And I think that's what's really endearing and why people love to hear from him so much, just because of what he can do. So, but at least, like I said, the team came back, they were down, came back, they were up. It was a crazy game, but that's what separates the good teams from the great teams, is how do you overcome a game where you lose the lead, you go down, you come back to tie, they tie, you go up and win. It's, how do you play in a battle of a game like that where you got a team who's fighting for a wild card spot? How do you come out there and play your game and not get sucked into it? And that's why I think where that comes in for the Hurricanes and where they're at. So it's great to hear from Seth just of like how this team looks at, hey, it wasn't a great game, but we won. Power play's rolling. Everyone's contributing. You're like, that's the thing with the Hurricanes. Their depth is so good that you don't have to rely on 2 lines or 1 line to score goals. Everyone in the lineup can score, and that's a great thing to have if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. So, like I said, the Hurricanes do have Monday and Tuesday off before they play the Washington Capitals on Wednesday. It should be very, very interesting how all of that plays out. But guys, this will be the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of your first listen. Welcome to the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin, where I do have links into both of my bios, where you can find all of my articles and all of my podcasts. For articles, well, for the Carolina Hurricanes, it's thehockeywriters.com. For AHL, it's thecaldertimes.com. If you want to check out my baseball stuff, it's coveringthecorner.com at SB Nation, talking about the Cleveland Guardians. If you want to check out my other podcast, well, it's the Surgecast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, well, Spotify, Google, Apple, you can find it there. Follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Monday, and until next time, as always, let's go, kids.